Live from Fargo and serving you on TV, online, and on the go. This is Valley News Live at 5.
Now, generations of pain is manifesting itself in front of the world, and the world is watching.
A former Minneapolis police officer has now been charged with murder and manslaughter in the death of George Floyd, and authorities hope his arrest will stop the rioting and looting there. Over the last few days, buildings were burned down and stores broken into. Valley News Team's Joshua Peguero spoke with a woman from the Valley who says she was friends with George Floyd, the man whose killing has ignited this unrest.
Videos out of Minneapolis have captured scenes of a police precinct burning down, a Target store being looted, and rioting across the city. What started this was the death of George Floyd by a former police officer who has been charged with murder. The killing was captured on video and quickly went viral. Governor Tim Walz on Friday called for calm.
It's time for us to clean our streets. It's time for us to execute today in a way that shows respect and dignity to communities.
Vanessa Weber is from Wahpeton and currently lives in Minneapolis.
He was funny. He was a positive guy.
She says she was close friends with Floyd. They met more than a year ago.
Not everyone. I'm not going to say everyone, but we still don't visualize black men as human beings in this country.
At first, when the death happened Monday night, Weber says she did not know it was Floyd, but eventually authorities identified him.
I was devastated to see a friend of mine take his last breath in that way.
Weber says the pockets of recent violence make her fearful.
I'm happy about protesting. I think that's what we need. That's definitely what we need in this country, but I'm a little saddened that it's become a little bit more violent. It's turned into rioting. I know that's not what he would have wanted.
The rioting, according to Weber, should not make people lose sight of Floyd's death. Joshua Peguero, Valley News Live.
Tomorrow, people in Fargo are expected to come together and march for George Floyd. The event begins at 10 a.m. and is expected to start at Island Park. The group organizing the march says they want it to be a peaceful event. Police say they will be at the event, but not as a show of force. We'll have more on this event tonight on Valley News Live and in our weekend coverage. After a week of overnight riots, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz has ordered a temporary nighttime curfew for Minneapolis and St. Paul that extends through the weekend. The curfew is scheduled from 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. tonight and tomorrow night. People will not be allowed to travel on any public streets or in public places. There are some exceptions, including first responders, media, and people going to work or seeking emergency care. Walz says mayors across the state can also issue their own curfews. Police will enforce the curfew and arrest those who refuse to comply. The 41-year-old man accused of killing Grand Forks police officer Cody Holte and another woman 2 days ago in an apartment where officers were serving an eviction notice is now officially charged. Officials say Salama Pendleton has been charged with 2 counts of murder, 3 counts of attempted murder, and 1 count each of criminal mischief, terrorizing, and reckless endangerment. All of the charges are felonies. He faces life in prison if convicted of the murder charges. A solemn scene in Grand Forks as the body of fallen police officer Cody Holte was escorted through the city. Grand Forks police posted this video to Facebook showing dozens of emergency vehicles driving through the city, including vehicles from the sheriff's and police departments, fire crews, and paramedics. You can also see squad cars from around the area. A memorial for the fallen officer has now moved inside the Grand Forks Police Department. Flowers, cards, and flags are laid out across a table in the lobby, and flowers and flags are still being collected outside as the community comes together to grieve. The Grand Forks Police Department says a memorial fund for Holte's family has now been set up. The information is right there on your screen. It's called the Cody Holte Memorial Fund, and it's at First State Bank. That's at 2500 32nd Avenue South in Grand Forks. The fund is sanctioned and affirmed by the police department. We knew it would be a little chilly today, but it was still nice. Nothing like the advisory issues for overnight, though. Let's get the latest from Hutch, who's got your first alert forecast. Hey, Hutch.
Yes, we have to say a word we don't like to say in weather this time of the year, and that's frost. Chilly air to the north of us. We still have a few clouds, mainly in the northern valley. Those are clearing. from northwest to southeast, leaving us with clear skies. And while those winds calm down as well, that's going to leave us under the threat for some patchy areas of frost overnight in northeast North Dakota, from the Langdon and Walhalla area through northwest Minnesota, Roseau County, Lake of the Woods, straight down into eastern parts of Becker County. The advisory is in effect until morning. All eyes on the Fargo Dome tonight, as the Red Hawks are expected to have themselves a little fireworks display. Hope you can drive out. Here's what you can expect. The skies should be clearing, the wind should be tapering off, and temperatures will be slipping back into the 50s. A little cool for things tonight, but not bad at all, as we expect our conditions to start going in the right direction as we head into and through the weekend. I'll have details in your hour-by-hour forecast and what you can expect as we rebound towards more spring-like weather in a few minutes.
All right, thanks, Hutch. We have some new information following a deadly fire along University Drive in South Fargo, where a body was found. Police have now identified the victim as 38-year-old Emily Lewis Wallen. Officials say no foul play is expected. The progress made in North Dakota regarding COVID-19 cases is enough to lower the risk level. Governor Doug Burgum dropped it from moderate to low today. The governor indicated that with the exception of Cass County, all other counties in the state were meeting 7 requirements necessary to lower the risk. The move allows businesses in North Dakota to further open to the public. For a complete explanation, you can go to ndresponse.gov. Meanwhile, the state has confirmed 40 new cases of COVID-19, along with 2 additional deaths in North Dakota. Both victims are from Cass County, one a man in his 70s, the other a woman in her 90s. That brings a total of 59 deaths linked to the virus. 40 more cases were reported today, bringing the active case count to 579. 1,882 people have recovered. Meanwhile, in Minnesota, health officials say 29 more people have died from the virus. This brings the death toll in the state to 996. 811 of those deaths happened in a long-term care facility. 590 more cases were reported today, bringing the active case count to 5,605. 16,930 people have recovered. Around the globe, concerns are rising about a second wave of coronavirus cases. And in South Korea, a spike in infections is causing authorities to reinstitute some restrictions. NBC's Kelly Kobiela reports from Seoul.
The last changing of the guard at Seoul's National Palace for another 2 weeks. Museums and parks are closing, libraries locking their doors because of an outbreak at this South Korea warehouse. 79 new cases Thursday, 58 today, the biggest jump in 2 months. Seoul's public health director told me they're worried about the increase in daily infections and a rise in cases that can't be traced. It comes as South Korea has been slowly reopening. Students in classrooms, worshipers at church. On Wednesday, we watched more than 2,000 pray under the same roof. That church now tells us they'll dial back on big services. In Brazil, the virus is still surging, with daily deaths over 1,000 for 3 days this week. Beaches in Rio are empty, but in the hardest hit city, Sao Paulo, they'll start reopening shopping malls and car dealers on Monday. Another hotspot in India. Hundreds wait for a bus out of Mumbai. Work is disappearing, and millions with no job or food are desperately trying to leave. Back in Seoul, people are once again being asked to work from home and to avoid socializing, especially in big groups.
With the new cases, are you worried?
No, not at all.
Many here still confident the country will bring the virus under control.
This outbreak is connected to one of South Korea's largest e-commerce businesses, and so far more than 100 workers, including delivery workers and the people they've come into contact with, have tested positive. Health officials say the next 2 weeks are critical. Kelly Kobiela, NBC News, Seoul, South Korea.
The World Health Organization says this is a time when people must take priority. They say tools to prevent, detect, and beat COVID-19 are global public goods that must be accessible to all people. A Romanian shoemaker has come up with the idea of long-nosed leather shoes to help keep people apart and respect the rules of social distancing. They come in a European size 75. The shoemaker says that if two people wearing his shoes faced each other, there would be almost 5 feet of distance between them. While he also sells ready-made shoes, his shop relies heavily on custom orders from theaters and opera houses across the country, as well as traditional folk dance ensembles. Those shoes, by the way, cost $115 a pair. Beating the coronavirus at 103 years old certainly calls for celebration, and Jenny Stejna celebrated her recovery with an ice-cold beer. She's lived at a nursing facility in Massachusetts for the past 7 years. She was diagnosed with COVID-19 in April and has since gone viral after a photo of her throwing back a cold Bud Light popped up on the internet. Caregivers at the nursing facility are happy to report that she is doing just fine.
In the middle of May, 2 weeks ago, she graduated off the unit and is back to her extended care unit where she had lived previously.
Stejna's family, which includes 2 great-grandchildren, describe her as being pretty feisty. They also say she's a hardcore Boston Red Sox fan. SpaceX and NASA will be giving it another try tomorrow as the manned spaceflight originally planned for Wednesday was called off due to weather. This mission out of NASA's Kennedy Space Center in Florida is taking place Saturday with liftoff scheduled for 2:22 Central Time. This will be the first time in 9 years the U.S. has sent astronauts into space. The mission is the final major test for SpaceX to get certified by NASA to take astronauts to and from the International Space Station. As we move into the summer months, more and more businesses are reopening around the country. What that looks like still ahead tonight.
And the skies around Fargo filled with a few clouds and some smoke down to the southwest of our studio tower. Caught on time lapse. Temperatures today a little cooler than average for this time of the year. It does look like we rebound. Details in your forecast are next.